It has been 3 days since an 18-year-old man in Uvalde, Texas, attacked an elementary school and killed 21 people, 19 of them children. And while it is common for new details to emerge after the so-called fog of war lifts, the basic facts of the police response to this particular shooting have changed. And then they changed again. And today, officials tried yet again to lay out a timeline of the response to this attack to an increasingly skeptical press corps and public. And this version, the one we heard today, painted a shocking picture of what now looks to be an extraordinarily inept police response that allowed the gunman to be locked in a classroom with children who were still alive for more than an hour. Here's today's version of what happened on Tuesday, May 24th. At 11:27 a.m. Central Time, a teacher at Robb Elementary School in Uvalde, Texas, walks out of the building and props the door open. That teacher sees a truck crash behind the school. By 11:28 a.m., she has rushed back into the school to get her phone, leaving the door propped open. 11:30 a.m., that teacher places a call to 911. This is the first 911 call that we know of made from the school. Only 3 minutes now have passed since the shooter first arrived. Now, within a minute of that call being made, the shooter is inside, firing his weapon outside, of the school, And around this time, the school resource officer arrives. And contrary to previous reports, he does not engage the shooter, but actually drives past him. 11:33 a.m. The shooter now enters the school and fires more than 100 rounds in either classroom 111 or 112. We do not know which. 2 minutes later, 11:35 a.m., 3 Uvalde police officers have entered the school, followed by 4 more for a total of 7 police officers. It has now been 8 minutes since the shooter arrived to this school. At 11:37 a.m., 16 more rounds are fired, and we do not know by whom. At 11:43 a.m., more police officers begin to arrive, and by 12:03 p.m., as many as 19 police officers have amassed in the hallway outside of the classroom where the shooter has locked himself inside with dozens of terrified 9, 10, and 11-year-old children. It is at this point, it is at this time, 12:03 p.m., that we get our second 911 call. This one, though, is from a student. She's whispering. She whispers that she is in classroom 112, and the police are still standing outside in the hallway. 33 minutes have passed since this shooter first arrived. 7 minutes later, that same student calls 911 again. And she is doing what every child in America has sadly been taught to do in an emergency. She tells the operator that multiple people are dead. She then places a third call to 911 3 minutes after that, 3 minutes later, and another one 3 minutes after that one. Only this time, she's not counting the number of people who are dead. Instead, she is focused on how many students are still alive in that room. Around this time, a tactical unit now from the Border Patrol has arrived on the scene. And 2 senior law enforcement officials tell NBC News that tactical unit was instructed to wait outside by local law enforcement for at least 30 minutes. At this point, the police are still gathered in the hallway outside of the classroom. And let me just tell you, it has been now 49 minutes that have passed since the shooter first arrived. 49 minutes. At 12:19 p.m., another student calls 911. This is now the 5th call to 911 that we know of. And this student says she is in room 111. At 12:21 p.m., the suspect fires again. These shots can be heard on the 911 call. Law enforcement moves down the hallway. Another student tells the girl on the phone with 911 to hang up. She does. And at 12:36 p.m., police receive a 911 call from a student. This is the 6th 911 call they have received in regards to this incident. This call lasted only 21 seconds. She calls back, and she is told to stay on the line and to be quiet. 7 minutes later, the child makes a plea to the 911 operator, quote, "Please send the police now." Another 4 minutes pass, and the child asks one more time, quote, "Please send the police now." And 3 more minutes pass, and law enforcement finally breaches the room, not with force, but with a key that they had asked the janitor to retrieve. At around 12:50 p.m., the shooter is killed by law enforcement. 83 minutes have passed since the shooter first arrived on the scene. That is the timeline of events that we got today from Texas officials. The first 911 call came 3 minutes after he crashed his car near the school. It would be another hour and 20 minutes before the shooter was killed by police. Enough time to murder 19 children and 2 teachers. Now, after presenting that timeline to reporters at a press conference in Uvalde, reporters pressed Texas Public Safety Director Steve McCraw for answers about why, after all those police had gathered at the scene, after all those 911 calls from children fearing for their lives were made, why did it take so long for the police to act?
Sir, you have people who are alive, children who are calling 911 saying, "Please send the police." They are alive. In that classroom, there are lives that are at risk.
Hey, we're well aware of that.
Right, but why was this decision made not to go in and rescue these children?
Again, the on-scene commander considered it a barricaded subject and that there was time and there were no more children at risk. Obviously, based upon the information we have, there were children in that classroom that were at risk. And for the benefit of hindsight, where I'm sitting now, of course it was not the right decision. It was the wrong decision, period. There's no excuse for that.
It was the wrong decision, period. There's no excuse for that. So what happens now? How does this community, ripped apart by such tragedy, respond to this horrifying version of events that we learned about today?